The school night. I arrived back to the cafeteria on one regular afternoon during school. The plan for that night is that my friends Colin, Steve, Frank, Chad, and I would spend the night inside of our high school. Yes, I know this sounds crazy, but allow Steve himself to go into in-depth detail on our plan for that night.
Man, here's what we gonna do, G. First, we gonna camp out after hours till all the cleaning dudes go home. Then, we gonna set up shop on the catwalk in the auditorium, so we can be stealthy as shit. Finally, we gonna get high as fucking going home.
Now, I said it'd be in very great detail, but that's kind of cap. Steve's plan is indeed very vague, actually. We all agreed on the part of hiding out after hours, and that's also the part we took the most seriously, so as to not get caught as the school closes up for the day. After some more discussion, we came to the conclusion that I would hide in the bathroom, Colin would hide in another bathroom, Steve and Frank would hide in the boiler room, and Chad would set up shop in the weight room.
I think we can all agree that I need to maintain my gains if you want to take the school night to the next bro level,
he said.
Great, G. We all ready to get you for the snacks too and feed the gains,
Steve exclaimed.
Sounds like a brotastic bro idea to me, bro.
And it was set. Lunch ended and we all parted ways to our fourth block classes. As I made my way to the fourth block, I saw Mr. Crush and Herbert being escorted out by the police. For some context, by the way, a lot of crazy, fucked up shit happened earlier in the day. Stuff that I'm not gonna go into. But yeah, I took a breath of fresh relief. Fourth block was uneventful, as was the fifth block. The bell rang for dismissal. However, instead of going out to my car, I headed to the men's bathroom where I could wait out until all the staff left the building so we could do our overnight challenge. I know this overnight challenge is probably stupid looking back on it, but hey, smack dab middle of the school year, and we're all bored, so sometimes you gotta do something to spice up their routine a bit. Feel me? Anyway, the way I altered the plan was that so we could each wait in one bathroom or part of the school, so as if one of us got into a sticky situation, all of us wouldn't be jeopardized as a group. I'd be hiding out in one of the upstairs bathrooms, whilst Colin hid in the other one. Steve and Frank, like I said, claimed they'd be in the boiler room, and Chad would be in the weight room in the gym.
I gotta get my gains, bro,
Chad smoothly said. Chad, you'll get caught if you do that. Make sure you actually hide. I hid in the stall and simply went on my phone to pass the time. However, I soon got off it. I did not have a charger on me, and I figured I'd need my phone for later in the night. I was incredibly bored just sitting there looking at the wall. We all agreed over the group chat that no one left their hiding spot until at least 9 p.m. Around 4:30 and the lights in the bathroom shut off. Everything remained uneventful till around 7 when the bathroom lights flickered back on. I was extremely confused. I stood at the toilet room and peeked over the stall. There was a janitor. At first I thought he was sweeping the floors until I realized he had no cleaning equipment. No, but instead, he had a shower cap, scrubby, and shampoo bottle. So I realized he was coming in there to clean, not the bathroom, but rather himself. He entered the stall right next to me. I lifted my feet up so he wouldn't see me. I was also surprised that he didn't question or even seem to care about the fact that one of the stall doors was locked. Soapy water began dripping on the bathroom floor from the stall next to mine. That's when the reality of just how bad of a situation I was in hit. I was trapped in the school bathroom at 7 at night with nowhere to go. Now you're probably wondering, how on earth could someone take a shower in a public restroom anyway? There aren't any shower heads. Believe me, I was wondering the exact same thing. I heard the sound of the janitor splashing toilet water in his head as I saw shampoo dripping on the floor from his head. I kid you not, he did this for 30 minutes straight. I'm not kidding. He literally dunked his head in the toilet, scrubbed with shampoo, then rinsed for a whole half hour. No breaks in between either. 45 minutes later and he finally finished his shower and left the restroom, turning the lights back off as he left. Alright, William, I'd say it's time we clock out for the day, the janitor said as he entered the hallway. I agree, Mike. Everyone else has already left and the school's now empty, his coworker replied from the other end of the line, of the walkie-talkie that was. Now, the janitors have left for good. It's around 8:55 in the evening now, so I figured the coast is clear. I texted the group chat and we all agreed to meet at our rally point, the weight room with Chad. I was a bit paranoid as I walked down the halls to the gym complex, but I was rest assured that the entire school was indeed empty, as all exits were locked tight and it was now pitch black outside. I entered the weight room. Somehow, everyone else had also just arrived. Chad was doing bicep curls. However, as he did those, I noticed something a bit off about his physique. First of all, he was sweating a ton for someone curling only 5-pound dumbbells. Secondly, his physique seemed like blocky in a way, especially around his shoulders. However, I was probably getting too far ahead of myself. Chad's always been known as the most athletic guy in school, and I'm sure he's been working hard lately for football and all, so I dismissed it. Chad over-exaggeratedly exclaimed.
Coach's fave. Man, we trying to get all fucked up in here tonight.
Steve said. Colin seemed on edge, mostly because of the fact that what we were doing was beyond illegal.
My parents may not know whatever tonight,
said Frank. That then reminded me. Our parents. They had no idea where we were, as we never arrived home from school. We never even texted them. I quickly powered on my phone, and my home screen was bombarded with missed FaceTime calls from my dad. 1 sec, I told everyone as I got behind a neutral-faced wall. I then FaceTimed him.
Nick, where are you on this night?
My dad questioned. I'm just spending the night at Steve's house. Sorry, I forgot to tell you, I told him. Okay then. I'm just trying to make sure you boys are safe. It's a school night, so be back early. I'm gonna have to see what's going on. I then hung up the phone. Party time, boys, I exclaimed. With my dad out of the way, we could now party all we wanted inside the school.
Fuck yeah, man. Let's get it.
The 5 of us traveled to the other end of the school to set up shop. That location was the catwalk. We quietly entered the auditorium and located the ladder to the catwalk.
A PG?
Whispered Steve. The ladder for the catwalk was located on the wall behind the stage curtains. It had a lock on the bottom, meaning the only way that we could get up there was via squeezing ourselves through the narrow metal bars that encaged the entire ladder upwards. Steve went first. He fit through with ease due to how skinny he was. I went second and Colin went third. We both got up with relative ease as well.
Could I get a hand, Bruce? I don't think this ladder is made for this kind of physique,
Chad said as he flexed his bicep. Come on, Chad, I'll help you through, I said.
Ooh,
He exclaimed as he just barely squeezed the metal bars, emphasis on barely. However, as I helped Chad through the bars, I noticed something, off about his physique. His arm muscles were a little softer than I expected. I dismissed it though and focused on getting up to the catwalk.
help!
We completely forgot about Frank. We didn't even try to get Frank through the ladder though, as it was clear that someone of his stature would not fit through. He was simply too big, too chubby that was. Luckily, on the other end of the catwalk there was a door. Frank, go up the hallway stairs and enter the catwalk that way, I shouted. Frank complied and we went to the other side of the catwalk and opened the door. On the other side of that door was a stairwell that led back into the band hallway. Next, we heard slow and heavy footsteps shuffling up the stairs. They created a very eerie sounding echo. The footsteps got closer and closer until they were almost around the corner. The tension was cut, however, when we realized who it was. It was Frank. Wait, really? Frank, please tell me you didn't, Colin said worriedly.
Just kidding.
Frank, seriously, don't joke about that. It's not funny in this situation. We're actually committing a serious crime. It was around 9:30 now, and so I spent the next hour messing around on the catwalk. Steve began blasting some uncatchy rap music on a speaker, and Chad decided to relax a bit. The rest of us simply hung out. Frank ran around, laughing uncontrollably. At the moment, we were actually enjoying ourselves. However, as we'd soon find out, all it takes is one decision to change the night, from floppy to funky. We were in the Wokedale High School catwalk, which is located 200 feet above the auditorium at 10 o'clock at night. We had no overnight gear with us, and we hadn't eaten a thing since lunch that day, so we were definitely in need of some food.
Man, I'm starving.
Same, I replied.
I think we can all agree that a brew bite to eat would be just what the gains doctor ordered, if I do say so myself,
Chad said smoothly. We all took the stairwell down to the catwalk and into the main floor before heading to the cafeteria. The entire school is now pretty dark, save for a few emergency lights. This gave the entire school a very creepy vibe. We entered the food area, which is also dark except for a few lights, as was the kitchen. Can we really think about the consequences that would happen if we got caught? Colin said.
Come on, Potato Man. You're just being a bitch. I'll show you what your toast does,
Steve replied. Steve proceeded to slide open the door to the lunch line. He then stepped in the kitchen area.
My man, hit me up your best beef sandwich,
He exclaimed. It was weird. Obviously, no one was working the lunch line at that time, so he was literally talking to himself. But then, Chad appeared from behind the lunch counter. He was now dressed head to toe in a lunchman's uniform.
One beef sandwich for the man.
Chad gave Steve the beef sandwich before proceeding over to place one hand on the counter and swing himself over, knocking the milk fridge over as he did so.
Woo!
Chad, this is no time to dick around, I said. We don't want to set the school alarms off.
I'm just messing with you, bro.
Chad replied as he scruffed his hand in my hair, making it all messy. Steve ate his beef sandwich and the rest of us grabbed a bunch of snacks to eat for later. Chad ducked behind a trash bin and emerged a minute later looking fresh as always. You know, blonde swoosh, football letterman jacket that was.
Native snacks,
he marked. We agreed that the catwalk was our base camp for the night, so we brought our snacks back there. We chowed down before Steve decided to spice the night up a bit.
Man, let's cut the bullshit and get straight to action.
What action? Asked Colin.
School night manhunt.
Oh, said Colin dreadfully. I don't blame him, and you'll see why. We got off the catwalk and made our way to our rally point, the area that I would stand in the morning by the men's restroom, by the cafeteria. We agreed that Colin would be the seeker first. The rules were that we'd go hide anywhere in the school, even in the classrooms. Colin began counting to 2 minutes, and we were off. I knew exactly where I wanted to hide. The balcony in the auditorium. It had multiple escape routes, and I had a view not only in the auditorium, but also down in the main hallway if I chose to step out into the hallway. I could hide at the chairs and no one would ever find me. For now though, I decided to go out into the hallway bridge to see where Colin was coming from. I waited there for a solid 3 minutes before I witnessed Colin exit the upstairs hallway. He literally ran right by me. He could have actually tagged me, but he didn't. He kept going and completely ignored me. He was sweating and looked to be in panic, as if he was not running after something, but rather from something. Colin disappeared and I resumed the game. However, not 1 minute later, I saw what he was running from. Somewhere hidden from around the corner, I heard a combination of a muffled motor running and a splashy sweeping sound. It sounded wet, as if someone was mopping the floor but using way too much water. That muffled motor sound kept getting louder and louder, until I realized it wasn't getting louder, rather closer. I initially thought that it was a janitor and that we're on the brink of getting caught. However, what rounded that corner was no one other than Herbert Ernie himself. He was riding one of those cleaning floor waxers, the kind that janitors use to polish the floors.
Hey, we all know the benefit of the dirty, but sometimes we need to clean things up and get scrubby,
Herbert remarked. Herbert wore a full janitor's outfit. He had jean overalls and a cleaning shirt. He also wore one of those jean caps and a pair of Adidas slides on his feet, revealing 3-inch long toenails. Soap suds were oozing out of his mouth like he had rabies, and he had a crazy look in his eyes. I hurriedly stepped out of the way and watched as he was heading straight for the stairs. He exclaimed as the waxing machine tumbled down the main stairs. It was weird because the waxing machine was only going at like less than 3 miles an hour, and he had a solid 30 yards or so until he reached the stairs, but he simply did nothing to get out of the way or stop it or anything. I ran back into the hallway to try to hide again. I simply hid inside of a history classroom, trying to forget about what had happened. I hid behind a bookshelf for about 10 minutes, till I saw Frank running down the hallway. He wailed as he ran. Colin was chasing him. "Got you," he shouted. The game of manhunt surprisingly lasted about another hour, until Steve was the last one caught. He was hiding in a janitor's closet. We all met up in the middle of the hallway. "Good game, guys," I said. Exclaimed Steve.
Y'all ain't lasting for shit.
"Wait a minute," said Colin. "Where's Chad?" "I don't know, but I don't know if he realizes the game is over." "That means he won," I said.
Man, fuck that shit. Your boy is the true winner. Chad man cheating.
Anyway, we all dispersed into the hallways in search of Chad. "Chad," I called out. "The game's over. You won." But I got no response, so I continued searching. So I was passing by Mr. Blimp's chemistry lab. That was when I smelled the scent of body wash. Very distinct body wash, too. It was none other than Old Spice, the swagger scent. I looked over at Mr. Blimp's room. The door was shut tight, with the blinds pulled down over the little window. I also noticed that the light was on inside. I was suspicious now. The scent of Old Spice is strong to a whole new level. I called for everyone to meet me by Mr. Blimp's room. "Guys, I don't know for sure, but Chad could be in this room. We're gonna bust in here and give Chad a surprise win celebration."
Sounds good to me, man.
replied Steve. As we got close to the door, we heard the faint sound of a shower running. We kicked the door down police style and entered the science room. The entire classroom was engulfed in a thick, warm steam, and the temperature rose at least 20 degrees. My feet were immediately soaked when we realized there was around 3 inches of water on the floor, flooding the classroom. We could not see more than 10 feet in front of us either, due to the steam. "Chad!" Colin shouted, but we got no response. Colin's voice could barely even be heard over the overpowering sound of the shower. We looked towards the front of the room and saw Chad standing under that emergency safety shower, the kind you use for emergencies if you spill chemicals on you or something. We could only see his head due to the thick steam. He wore a shower cap and had suds all over his face. "Chad, what are you doing?" The scent of Old Spice is strong, almost overpowering at this point. Chad pulled what looked to be a shower curtain. hiding himself.
Nothing real. Just freshening up, that's all.
He replied. Bro, it's 11 at night and we're in school. Why on earth did you take a shower? I then noticed that Chad had somehow installed a portable shower curtain on the tile ceiling via a rail and was using it to shower. Chad had transformed the entire classroom into a steam room.
You gotta remain fresh at all times, no weebers. You've got school tomorrow, and we gotta treat this as any other school night.
I then noticed a small device installed on the wall next to the shower. It had a digital screen on it which showed a number. I took a closer look, and that number read 1.5 hours on it. Chad, how long have you been in here? I asked.
Just a little bit, bro.
Nah, it says here you've been running this thing for almost 2 hours. That's the whole time we've been playing Manhunt, I exclaimed.
Do you have a bro's mind stepping out for a hot minute? I've got to dry off.
The rest of us reluctantly stepped back into the hallway. Chad! I shouted in shock as I realized that half the hallway was now flooded with 1 inch of water. His shower had leaked out of the classroom and into the hallway. There's no way we can clean this up or even hide the evidence for that matter, Colin exclaimed. Yo, chill out, I said. We aren't responsible for Chad's shower. No one knows we're here right now, meaning when everyone comes to school tomorrow, yes, they'll find a total mess in Mr. Blimp's room, but they won't know what caused it. Let's think a pipe burst or something, I explained. Yeah, Nick's right, Colin replied. Let's just go back to the catwalk and lay low for the rest of the night. When school starts tomorrow morning, we can stealthily sneak into the hallway and go about our day as normal, said Colin. Good idea. We waited for Chad to finish drying off from his 2-hour-long shower. When he emerged, a barrage of steam poured into the hallway. We couldn't even see him at first. That's just how dense the steam was. Soon, however, Chad emerged from the steam, looking fresh as always.
Now I think we can agree that a nice shower was just what the coach called for.
If anything, that was very uncalled for, I replied. We began our way back to the auditorium and we climbed back into the catwalk. I decided to relax a little bit and perhaps get some rest for school the next day. I set my alarm for 4 a.m. as it was midnight right now. I wanted all of us to be up and ready before any staff arrived at the school. Steve watched some Netflix shows on his phone, and the rest of us slept and were soon out cold. I was surprised I was able to fall asleep on all of the cold, hard metal of the catwalk, but I did. However, soon we were all jolted awake by the loud noise of the school's intercom system. Someone was making an announcement. The voice sounded like one of those auto-generated voices, like a robot. Here's the announcement.
I know you boys are here in that building. You are all in big trouble. All of you are to report to the principal's office immediately, or else the police will be on their way.
Oh shit! Exclaimed Colin. Sounds like I better go now, I replied. Our night's about to come crashing down, unfortunately, I think. We all hurried down to the hallway and walked into the principal's office. However, when we walked into the office lobby, there was no one there. The lights weren't even turned on. We did, however, see one cracked door with a bright white light on, emanating from the room. Then, we heard a scraggly voice invite us inside. Seen as of right then and there, we had walked into a trap.
It's right, cadets. Right on in here.
We were all hesitant and nervous, and so we cautiously approached the door and entered. There were 5 chairs lined up in a row against the back wall, facing towards the principal's desk. What would the principal be doing here at this hour? That wouldn't make sense, I think to myself.
See, that is, we're gonna have a little chit-chat,
the voice told us in a very creepy manner. We all sat down in the seats. My heart was pounding. Behind the principal's desk was a tall brown rolly chair made of pure leather. It was huge. It was turned around the other way, so we couldn't even see who was sitting in it due to how tall the back of the seat and its headrest went up. However, the chair slowly began turning around, revealing who was back there.
Okay, cadets, let's start business.
The chair revealed no one other than Herbert Ernie himself.
You thought you could escape the club, eh?
He remarked. Herbert, what the fuck? I said. Why are you even here? Yeah, you're gonna get us all in trouble, added Colin.
Fuck that fam! He was a part of my dope-ass plan!
Steve then began to make a dash for the door. However, he is immediately blocked by a man wearing a Scottish kilt. It was Mr. Crush. I remember telling you young lassies that if you wanted to stay after school for the ODC, then you would report straight to my room. I've been waiting there for hours and none of you showed up, except for my 5-star cadet here, said Mr. Crush as he scruffed his hand through Herbert's hair.
And this night has just gone funky. However, you comrades must be punished for skipping the club.
Now, I shouted. We all sprung up and went to tackle Mr. Crush, which we did. He was not very strong. Colin went after Herbert, whilst Chad, Steve, and Frank made a run for it.
Ouch! He bit me!
Colin remarked.
Ta-da!
Herbert exclaimed before plopping back in his rolly chair and using a fire extinguisher to propel himself down the main hallway. Herbert screamed and disappeared around a corner. I knocked Mr. Crush out, and Colin and I ran up and caught the others. We retreated back to the catwalk, out of breath. Bro, what the fuck just happened? Said Colin. No clue, but I think it's crucial that we stay on the catwalk until 4 a.m. when we move back to the bathrooms. No one comes in and no one goes out. I think we can all procreate and night's sleep is just with the gates quartered, said Chad, and so we proceeded back to rest. However, after what had just happened, I was not able to fall back asleep. I just went on my phone for the rest of the night. However, I think it was around like 3 a.m. that I actually did fall asleep. I was out cold too. Next thing I knew, I found myself jolting awake to the sound of a class filing into the auditorium. Oh no, I thought to myself. I panicked, looked at the time on my phone, and realized it was 9:25 in the morning. Second block. My phone had about 100 alarm notifications on it. I then realized the reason it didn't ring was because my ringer was off. I also had about 30 missed calls from my dad. This was not good at all. I didn't think this plan through at all. I told my dad last night that I was spending the night at Steve's house, but that I also meant I'd have to go back to my house in the morning, which obviously was not an option. I quickly got against a neutral-faced wall and FaceTimed my dad. Here is our conversation.
Nick, where are you? You were supposed to be back early,
he exclaimed. Yeah, I know. I slept in at Steve's. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. I'll just catch a ride with Steve to school today, I told him.
No, I want you to come back here to my house first.
Okay, sure, I'll be there in 5. Yeah, no, this is very bad. I had no way I could get back to my house as of then. And we also had the dilemma of getting out of the catwalk and to class without being seen. It was ironic how one of the perks we thought of sleeping at school was being able to get to class earlier, but instead, we just ended up being late. Everybody get up now, we gotta go, I exclaimed.
Oh shit, man, fuck.
Everyone was still extremely groggy as they got up. No one talked much as we all felt very hungover, but we moved at lightning speed, and all of our hair was a mess too. We grabbed our things and quietly exited the catwalk via the stairwell. We dispersed and went to our classes. My second block class was with Mr. Blimp in the chemistry lab, but as you know, it was still flooded with swagger water. Therefore, my second block class had to be moved to the study den upstairs until the janitors could clean it up. I walked into class. Mr. Blimp was in a blimpy mood that day, due to his classroom being flooded and all. He stared at me with a glare as I walked in late halfway through the class. I sat down and began working, though I found it hard to focus after the previous night. However, 10 minutes later, the police burst into my class, along with the principal. I was immediately handcuffed and taken into custody in front of the entire class. I looked into the hallways, and also witnessed Colin, Frank, Chad, and Steve being arrested as well.
Man, you bitch ass, let me go, G!
Steve whined. As the officers took us all out to the parking lot, the principal explained how everything we did last night was caught on camera. Oh, the cameras! How could we completely forget about the school's security cameras that are located around every single corner of the building? My dad was also waiting for me in the parking lot. Nick, get in the car, he said. My dad took me home and took away my phone. I didn't end up getting arrested, luckily, neither did Colin, Frank, or Steve.
Come on, bro,
Chad said as he was directed into the cop car. Chad is being arrested for flooding the school. There were 2 more people being arrested as well. Those people were Mr. Crush and no one other than Herbert Ernie himself. Herbert exclaimed.
The legacy of the clip must live on forever!
He yelled as his screams were then muffled into the police car, speeding away. Apparently, in Mr. Crush's classroom, quote-unquote, the detectives discovered a number of disturbing items, including underwear, some weird photo album of him, and a bunch of strange pills, too. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that. My dad took me home and took my phone, like I said, and that thing concludes the school night.